Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
In the vast expanse of the galaxy, there lay a glittering jewel among the stars, the planet Dryon. Its crystalline cities soared into the sky, each structure humming with advanced technology, a marvel to any observer. The royal family of Dryon was renowned throughout the cosmos, their power feared and respected. Yet, their contempt for the primitive Earth was palpable, often subject to ridicule among the elite. While the alien princesses mockingly discussed the inferior human race in the grand, ornate halls of the royal palace, millions of light-years away, an unsuspecting man named William craved adventure beyond the dull confines of his small, earthly existence. He grew up in a modest town, living an ordinary life filled with dreams of discovering the unknown, never knowing his fate would soon intertwine with that of 4 alien princesses. One day, as he sat in his cramped living room, an official-looking envelope arrived, its intricate seal marking it as a communication from the intergalactic courts. Confused but intrigued, William opened it. The letter within stated that he was the sole heir to a deceased alien king, Marek, who had recently passed away under mysterious circumstances. The message explained that as a part of his will, William inherited all rights and responsibilities concerning the king's possessions, namely, his 4 daughters, Princess Zephyra, Princess Lyra, Princess Astra, and Princess Nyssa. Daughters? Inherit? What does this even mean? William muttered to himself, his mind racing with disbelief. Did this mean he was being bequeathed a family of 4 alien princesses? Though the thought was absurd, a flicker of excitement ignited within him. Naturally, he knew he had to travel to Dryon. What awaited him there? Wealth? Power? Or perhaps a daunting series of challenges with 4 strong-willed princesses who were accustomed to their royal lifestyle. As he prepared for his journey, William couldn't shake off the anxiety that settled in his stomach. After a brief, chaotic flight aboard an intergalactic shuttle, the ship landed on Dryon. The moment the hatch opened, William was hit with a wave of vivid colors, exotic scents, and sounds that both dazzled and overwhelmed him. The bustling streets of Dryon sprawled out before him, where aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about, paying him no mind. His heart raced as he approached the Grand Palace, an architectural wonder made of shimmering materials that reflected the galaxy above. As he stepped into the lavish scene, the eyes of the princesses fell on him. 4 striking figures adorned in flowing garments that sparkled like stars, adorned with intricate patterns symbolizing their noble lineage. Their laughter echoed in the hall, a blend of incredulity and amusement. "Is this the human our father spoke of?" Zephyra, the warrior princess, scoffed, her piercing gaze scrutinizing William. "He looks almost pathetic," Astra teased, her lips curving into a smirk. Though their words stung, William stood his ground. "I may be from Earth, but it seems I now have a place here, whether you like it or not." Little did they know, this would be the beginning of a complex journey filled with laughter, love, and revelations that would challenge the very foundations of their worlds. As William stood in the grand hall, the towering walls adorned with art depicting heroics from Therion's storied past, he felt a mixture of pride and trepidation. The princesses giggled amongst themselves, their laughter echoing off the crystalline walls, making him acutely aware of their perceptions. Zephyra, with her fiery red hair tied back and eyes ablaze, stepped forward, exuding confidence and authority. She was clad in a fitted warrior's attire that accentuated her strength. "You think this is a joke? You expect to fit in among us?" Her tone was sharp, but there was an undercurrent of curiosity. Lyra, the analytical one, watched from the sidelines. Her hair was a cool hue of sapphire, contrasting sharply with her deep, thoughtful nature. She curved her lips into a slight smile, clearly intrigued. "But maybe that's exactly what we need, a little more unpredictability." Astra, the playful spirit, twirled a strand of her golden locks as she leaned against a pillar, a glint of mischief in her emerald eyes. "I say we give him a chance. Let's see what this human can really do. I bet he's all talk." Finally, Nyssa, with her gentle demeanor and soft lavender attire, watched with a compassionate gaze. Unlike her sisters, Nissa felt a pang of empathy toward William as she observed the tension in his stance. Perhaps we should allow him to speak before we judge him too harshly. William, regaining his composure, took a step forward, recalling the bravery his father often spoke of. I may not be a warrior, but I'm willing to learn. I hope to gain your trust and understanding, not merely be a joking matter. The sisters were silent for a moment, each processing his words. Days turned into weeks as William navigated the intricacies of Dryon court life. His efforts to blend in led to a series of cultural exchanges. He took the initiative to introduce the princesses to small aspects of human life, hoping to break down the walls that separated their worlds. One afternoon, William organized a cooking day in the palace's grand kitchen. "It's simple," he encouraged them. "Let's make pizza. It's one of Earth's favorites." The princesses approached with skepticism. Zephyra crossed her arms, a frown on her face. How can food made from dough and cheese compare to the artistry of Dryon cuisine? Ignoring her skepticism, William mixed flour, water, and yeast, explaining each step. As they began crafting the dough, Lyra, surprisingly, became engrossed. "This is quite fascinating. I didn't expect something so primal to be so delightful." Astra chimed in, throwing flour at William playfully. "Come now, do you have to be so serious? Look at you. You're covered in flour. You look ridiculous." Their laughter was infectious, and soon, even Zephyra cracked a smile despite her earlier disdain. As they rolled out the dough, she shot William a challenging glance. "All right, human, if you wish to make pizza, let's see if it can match the taste of our foods." When the pizza was finally ready, the princesses were reluctant but curious. As they took their first bites, their reactions varied. Lyra's eyes widened at the flavors, while Astra chewed slowly, her smile growing. "This isn't half bad," Astra admitted, chewing with a full mouth. "Perhaps your people are not as entirely lacking as we thought," Zephyra conceded, a hint of respect creeping into her voice. Over several days of delightful and sometimes chaotic culinary misadventures, the atmosphere began to shift. William found common ground with each of the princesses as they shared stories of their childhood, dreams, and aspirations. During a particularly ambitious cooking session, Nissa confided in William one evening, "I envy your freedom, William. You are not burdened by the expectations we face. Being a princess is complicated." William nodded in understanding. "I may have my own burdens, Nissa, but it's easy to forget the weight of a crown until you wear it. Everyone has their own challenges." Their bond deepened as they talked late into the night, the stars of Dryon casting a gentle glow through the palace windows. Meanwhile, Zephyra continued to challenge William physically. "If you wish to be a true consort to the ruling princesses, you must prove your strength," she stated one afternoon during training. While training was grueling, William found himself inspired. Each laborious hour forged a sense of camaraderie, and with every drop of sweat, they became allies. However, William soon realized the depth of their cultural divides as moments of humor turned into awkward missteps. During a game of cards, William cracked a joke referencing a well-known human comedian, expecting laughter. Instead, he was met with blank stares. "What's a knock-knock?" Astra inquired, her ruby eyes wide with confusion. It's just a silly way to begin a joke." "Forget it," he muttered, feeling the weight of misunderstanding. But soon Lyra, always the one with a thirst for knowledge, spoke up. "Please finish. I want to understand this part of your culture." As they engaged in dialogue, William laid bare his humorous side, gaining small laughter from the princesses as they began to understand him in ways he had not anticipated. Amidst the laughter and challenges, the seeds of connection were planted. Though they were far from being in sync, there was a burgeoning spark of affection, a sense of kinship slowly growing amongst the tension. Before the chapter came to a close, William understood that the journey ahead would not be simple, but as the laughter echoed between them, he felt a renewed sense of hope. Perhaps, despite their differences, they might find a way to bridge the gap between Earth and Dryon. Days turned into weeks, And as William immersed himself more into the life of Dryon, a complex tapestry of friendships and burgeoning affections began to weave around him. Yet, with every light, shadows loomed on the horizon. Tensions not only brewed within the palace walls, but also beyond them. Despite their initial skepticism, the princesses began to embrace parts of human culture. Under William's guidance, they explored music from Earth, assembling in the palace's garden for Earth Music Night. William strummed on a guitar, introducing the princesses to melodies that spoke of love and adventure. As he played, Nyssa swayed softly, her usually quiet demeanor illuminated by the music. "This is beautiful," she whispered, her eyes reflecting the twinkling stars above. Lyra busily jotted down notes about the lyrics and rhythms, clearly fascinated by the emotional range of human expression. Astra, mischievous as ever, danced with abandon, pulling William into a rhythm, laughter spilling from her lips. Zephyra, sitting slightly apart, watched with a mix of amusement and contemplation. "Perhaps we've underestimated Earth," she admitted reluctantly, but her pride kept her from joining in. Just as things began to feel like a light-hearted adventure, a dark cloud swept over the palace. News arrived from surrounding territories about an uprising against the royal family of Dryon. Rival factions looking to exploit the succession crisis following King Marek's death threatened to destabilize the entire realm. The atmosphere inside the palace shifted. Tension filled the air. William became aware of hushed whispers in the corridors and the worried expressions on the faces of guards. One fateful evening, as the princesses gathered in a war council to address the brewing conflict, William attended, feeling an eagerness to prove himself beyond being just an outsider. As the king's chosen successor, Zephyra emphasized, adjusting her armor, "It is our duty to maintain control and prevent chaos. We must show strength." William raised his hand, cutting through the thick tension. "But what if we try to understand why this uprising is occurring? Maybe we missed something our father didn't. Perhaps he made mistakes we can learn from." All eyes turned to him. The princesses, caught between loyalty to their lineage and the unsettling reality they faced, hesitated. "William, this isn't a game," Zephyr snapped, frustration evident in her voice. "This is our home and our legacy. We cannot allow weakness." "But strength doesn't solely lie in brute force. Isn't it also about unity, understanding, and uniting our people?" His voice grew fervent, a plea for collaboration. Lyra, who had been quietly considering his words, spoke up. "Perhaps we could send emissaries to understand the cause. Knowledge may bridge this gap far more effectively than swords." The tension among the princesses mounted as Zephyr vehemently disagreed. "You would rather sit and talk than show these rebels who is in charge. Their insolence deserves punishment." The assertiveness in her voice resonated with tradition and pride, igniting arguments among them. The rising conflict among the sisters reflected the growing rift between them. William felt trapped in the middle, trying to mediate without losing the princesses' respect or favor. Days passed with rising tensions between the princesses. While Astra and Nyssa supported Lyra's proposal, Zephyr adamantly pushed for a more aggressive approach. Each time they clashed, William felt the fracture deepen. Despite the turmoil, small moments of intimacy began to surface, illuminating the complexities of their relationships. In one quiet moment, William found himself alone with Nyssa in the palace garden. "Nyssa, you seem distant lately," William noticed, sensing her gentle soul was burdened by the conflict. She sighed, her lavender hair glowing softly under the starlight. "I fear for my sisters. They fight for power and control, but I wish to find harmony among us. I do not want to see strife tear our family apart." "Strife can teach us, though," William replied softly. "It can reveal truths that unite us." Nyssa smiled faintly. "Perhaps that is true. You have a way of seeing things differently, William." Their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, the chaos slipped away, replaced by a budding understanding that ran deep. Meanwhile, during archery practice, William found himself side by side with Astra. "You know, I think you'd make a fine archer," she teased, her expression playful. "Only if you promise not to turn the targets into playful enemies," he chuckled, letting the laughter break the tension, though the uneasiness of their royal duties loomed overhead. Their playful banter masked a deeper connection forming between them, a hint of excitement in the air, a spark that hinted of something more than friendship. Meanwhile, Lyra would often find herself discussing books with William in the library, both becoming engrossed in human literature and alien philosophy. Their discussions deepened her appreciation for humanity, and she found comfort in sharing ideas. "It's refreshing to talk to someone who sees the world as I do," she confessed one evening, brushing her fingers across William's arm playfully. Yet, with each interaction, Zephyr's frustration grew. She felt her sisters drifting from their duty, what she deemed essential. "If we cannot be united in purpose, then we are offering our throne to chaos," she warned one day, her conviction strong as she rallied the others to her cause. As the disagreements heightened within the palace, whispers of the impending conflict outside the walls loomed larger than ever. The notion that they may need to fight to regain their kingdom became more real, creating a heaviness in their hearts. In this crucible of emotions, William felt the tension rising not only among the sisters, but also within himself. He needed to persuade them to find common ground, to see the strength in understanding. But with the stakes growing, it became increasingly difficult to reach them. The tension in the palace grew stronger by the day. Debates between the princesses culminated in heated arguments, creating factions within the royal family. Meanwhile, outside the palace walls, rumors of the uprising began to materialize into a real threat. William felt the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. He wasn't just the human heir now. He was a potential peacemaker amid turmoil. One stormy evening, as dark clouds swirled above the palace, messengers returned with urgent news. A rebellious faction, fueled by resentment towards the royal family, had gathered at the borders of Dryon, demanding justice for the common people. They questioned the legitimacy of the princess's rule, claiming that the death of King Marek had left the kingdom vulnerable. In the War Council chamber, the atmosphere was electric with anxiety. Zephyra, wearing her warrior's garb, slammed her fist on the table, her fury evident. "We must strike back. Show them the power of our lineage." William sensed the impending clash of wills and feared that violence would only deepen the divide. "If we attack them head-on, we risk creating martyrs for their cause. We should try diplomacy first. Perhaps we could find out what their grievances truly are." "But they want to usurp our throne," Zephyra countered fiercely. "A throne isn't just taken. It must be worthy of respect," William urged. "We must understand them before we act." Lyra's voice cut through the heated discussion, confident yet calm. "William is right. We need to explore the roots of their grievances. Only then can we negotiate." Feeling the tide shifting, Zephyra crossed her arms defiantly. "You're willing to lay our heritage down in the hopes these rebels honor us. Have you lost your mind?" The argument raged on until Nissa, her voice soft yet firm, stepped between them. "Enough! As sisters, we cannot afford to tear each other apart, nor can we sacrifice our people for our pride." With their eyes locked in a moment of shared understanding, the sisters reluctantly agreed to send an emissary instead of launching a full attack. The princesses decided William would accompany them as a symbol of their new diplomatic approach, signaling both human perspectives and a willingness to bridge divides. As they gathered supplies for the journey, a palpable tension remained above them, but also a flicker of hope fueled by unity, however fragile it might be. Together, they prepared to venture into the field, facing the unknown consequences of their decision. The following dawn, the princesses, clad in royal attire, and William, dressed as a humble emissary, approached the rebel camp under a flag of truce. As they drew closer, the sight of the gathering sent shivers down William's spine. Armed figures loomed protectively around their makeshift camp as their glaring eyes eyed the royal party with skepticism. A rugged woman stepped forward, clearly the leader of the rebels, her face weathered but fierce. "What do you want, princesses? Are you here to taunt us, or are you ready to listen to the people?" Zephyra stepped forward, a collective breath held in the air. "We come not to fight, but to understand your grievances. We are here to listen." Skepticism clouded the woman's expression, but curiosity flickered in her eyes. You wish to listen? After generations of neglect, do you expect us to believe your words? William took a deep breath and stepped forward, sensing this was his moment to engage. I'm just a humble human from Earth, but I understand what it feels like to be overlooked. I know you feel unheard, and I'm here, alongside these princesses, to bring your voices to the throne. Speak to us, please. The rebel leader narrowed her eyes, gauging his honesty. The tense silence stretched, broken only by whispers among her followers. You think your pretty speeches can change a lifetime of oppression? What can you offer us in return? She countered boldly. As the discussion unfolded, a back-and-forth exchange began. William urged them to share their stories of hardship, emotions coursing through the air. Nissa used her healing abilities to bring comfort to an injured rebel, creating bonds of kindness against the backdrop of animosity. Lyra shared tales of Therian's history and its dark chapters of governance, acknowledging the failures of their family's lineage, while Astra's infectious spirit offered some levity in the heated. As Astra's intoxicating laughter guided the atmosphere, she offered unscripted humor about noble life. You think my sisters and I have it all figured out because we wear crowns? Trust me, it comes with plenty of awkward royal etiquette blunders. You have no idea how many times I've nearly fallen off my own throne, she teased, earning chuckles from both rebels and the princesses. The rebel leader softened visibly as she inclined her head slightly, a glimmer of intrigue sparking in her eyes. You speak bravely, Princess Astra, but brave words mean nothing unless accompanied by actions. What can you truly offer? William stepped in with a newfound determination. What if we work together? With the knowledge and resources of Dryon, we could create a council, a united front to ensure voices from all corners of the kingdom are heard. This could usher in a new era of shared governance that prevents such rifts from appearing again. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The rebels listened intently, considering this proposition. Nissa, noticing their tentative expressions, added quietly, "We want to create a world where we can all thrive, not just the few in power. Each of us has a place and a purpose. Please, give us a chance to rebuild what has been broken." With every word spoken, William sought to build bridges instead of walls. The more they spoke, the more the human and alien perspectives intertwined, softening the rebels' initial resistance. Just as the conversation flowed toward potential resolutions, a sudden movement from the shadows interrupted. A significant faction of the rebels, eager for revenge, stormed forward, their intentions clear. "Kill the royals! It's the only way to reclaim our power," a rogue shouted, brandishing a weapon defiantly. Panic gripped the crowd as swords clashed and chaos erupted. The rebel leader shouted for retreat, attempting to pull her followers away from the fray. But it was too late. Fights ensued like a raging storm. Zephyra, instinctually taking command, swiftly drew her weapon, her warrior instincts kicking in. "Protect the emissaries," she roared, directing her sisters to shield William as he dove for cover. William's heart raced as he sought to calm the chaos, his mind racing. "Stop! Fighting won't change anything," he screamed, desperately hoping someone would hear reason. In that moment of chaos, a sense of fear gripped William tightly. It was not just for himself. It was the realization that the goodwill they had built may shatter in an instant. As Zephyra engaged in battle, the rebel leader shouted for her followers to stand down, caught between loyalty to her comrades and the recognition of the bond forming between the two factions. "This is not what we agreed upon," she yelled, attempting to regain control. Nearby, William glanced at Nissa, who was healing those injured in the struggle, and he felt resolve flooding through him. "We need to unite. Zephyra, help me reach the rebels. I can talk to them." With the uproar surrounding them, William dashed toward the melee, dodging swords and chaos as he sought out the leaders on both sides. As he reached the fray, he called out to the rebel warriors, "Look, this violence will lead to nothing but further pain. If we return to fighting, if we act on hate, you'll only perpetuate the cycle we're all desperate to escape." The fighting began to slow. Recognition crept into the faces of the warriors, and William pressed on with renewed passion. "You're fighting for a future, just as we are. We can face our past together and build something better. An era where we all share power. Just then, Zephyra finished subduing her last opponent and turned to the rebel leader, her stance filled with fierce defiance, yet softened with understanding. You want justice? We want change. Surely, we can find common ground, she offered, her expression pleading. A moment of silence fell as both sides caught their breath. Tensions hung in the air, the outcome resting on the knife edge of decision. William seized the opportunity, remembering the strength of connection he had forged with the princesses. Together, we can create a council where everyone can be heard, he shouted earnestly, locking eyes with the rebel leader. But only if you put down your weapons. Let's choose dialogue over destruction. Gathering herself, the rebel leader slowly lowered her weapon. You ask us to trust again. After all that has come before, trust cannot be given. It must be earned. Let us earn it together, William replied, extending a glimmer of hope amidst the debris of conflict. Gradually, some rebels began to put down their weapons, their gazes flickering between their leader and the royal party. She speaks the truth, one voiced hesitantly. Upon witnessing the shift, the rebel leader nodded slowly, her voice breaking with emotion. If we can forge a new path together, then today marks the true start of change. With an explosion of emotion, the rebel faction began to lower their weapons fully, the distance slowly breaking down. The tide had shifted, and amidst the remnants of violence, a fragile truce began to take root. A rush of relief washed over William as he turned to Zephyra, Lyra, Astra, and Nyssa, meeting their expressions of astonishment and reassurance. Together, he whispered, feeling the connection between all of them pulsating stronger than the chaos that had nearly consumed them. Emerging from the conflict, they stood united. William felt the warmth of camaraderie wash over them, a recognition of shared humanity and strength. The princesses and the rebels now began to discuss how to share their power, creating a unified council designed to address the needs of their kingdom. They realized that their strengths, when combined, could forge a brighter future for Dryon. As laughter began to weave into conversations once more, a knowing glance passed between William and the princesses, signaling the evolution of their relationships from simple inheritance to deep, abiding connection. For all their differences, obstacles, and cultural clashes, they were now entwined in a story that would echo through the ages of Dryon, a testament of unity in diversity, hope in chaos, and love amidst misunderstanding. With the fragile truce established, the air around the rebel camp began to transform. What had once been a battlefield morphed into a lively hub of discussion. Rebels and princesses mingled, their hopes blossoming anew. William watched the scene unfold with a mix of pride and disbelief. The leaders of both factions encouraged their followers to engage in dialogue. With every story shared, empathy grew, forming the foundation of a newfound council. As days passed, he naturally slipped into a role as mediator, facilitating discussions that brought everyone closer. His interactions with the princesses deepened their bonds, strengthened by shared purpose. One evening, in a quiet moment, Nyssa approached him, her gaze thoughtful. "You've changed everything, William," she said softly. "The hope in our people's eyes begins with you." William smiled, touched. "It's all of us together creating this change." Next, Lyra found him, her eyes sparkling. "You've opened my mind to see the beauty of humanity. I never thought I could learn so much from you." As Astra playfully nudged him, they shared a laugh. "You do realize you've become practically one of us at this point." Finally, Zephyra caught his eye, her usually fierce demeanor softening. "You've proven that humanity harbors strength, William. You've led us." Touched by their acknowledgement, William replied with sincerity, "We're all stronger together. The journey we've taken is just beginning." As the council began drafting new laws ensuring shared governance and protection for all subjects, William felt both honored and empowered. Each princess brought their unique talents, crafting a vision for the future. William stood before the crowd during the official announcement of the new council, feeling the energy ripple through them. This isn't just a symbol. It's proof that we can be stronger together. No voice too quiet, no faction too small. The audience erupted into hopeful roars, the shift palpable. It was a new chapter of hope, drawing people from all walks of life into a unified front. To celebrate the partnership, a grand festival was held, filled with culture, music, and laughter. William found himself surrounded by the princesses, vibrant colors enveloping them, the tension replaced with kinship. That night, amidst twinkling lights and shared stories, William was embraced by all four princesses. "You've brought laughter and hope back into our lives," Nissa stated, her eyes glistening. Zephyr added, "Your determination shines as bright as any warrior's strength." "We'll always be a united front," William responded, feeling the warmth of their connection. As the festival wound down, William stepped onto a balcony, gazing at the stars. Zephyr joined him, her presence steady. "You've integrated into our world, William." "Thanks to all of you, I found my place," he replied, smiling. "Together, we've made real progress." In that moment, they exchanged unspoken promises, commitment to partnership and growth, united in their path forward. Weeks turned into months, and William settled into life on Narration. The bonds between him and the princesses deepened, with the council flourishing, promoting understanding and collaboration. The Festival of Unity became an annual event, celebrating their combined cultures. Each year, it reminded them of their journey, from conflict to cooperation. One breezy afternoon, he found himself in the palace gardens with the princesses, laughter spilling out as they engaged in friendly competitions. "Can you imagine telling an alien about the tortoise and the hare?" Astra laughed. "Why not? It's about perseverance and friendship," William replied, grinning. As they lounged under the warm sun, Nissa looked thoughtful. "We'll find plenty of adventures to embrace together." "I'll be right here, ready to venture into the unknown with you," William promised, feeling a profound sense of belonging. That evening, the sun set, casting warm hues across the sky. William realized he was no longer just a human inheriting four princesses, but someone who had grown with them. In the warmth of camaraderie, he found a shared adventure that resonated deeply, one that would echo across galaxies for generations to come. Together, they knew their tale was just beginning, a story of unity, strength, and love amidst adversity.